A Dutch court doubts the independence of the Polish judiciary. Now the European Court of Justice is to clarify whether EU states have to obey arrest warrants from Poland. The Polish judicial reform has preoccupied the European Court of Justice several times in recent years. Now the judges in Luxembourg are to re-examine the restructuring of Poland's judiciary. A spokesman for the European Court of Justice confirmed to the news agency DPA that an Amsterdam court has addressed the highest European judges with explosive questions about the interpretation of EU law. They should decide whether fundamental doubts about the independence of the Polish judiciary could justify a general ban on European arrest warrants from Poland. The Dutch judges only want to extradite the accused if there is a prospect of a fair trial. In the case of Poland, however, they do not see this as guaranteed. Since 2007, the independence of the Polish courts and thus the right to an honest trial has been under increasing pressure, said the court in response to its so-called request for a preliminary ruling. The developments in recent years had such a strong impact on the independence of the Polish courts that they could no longer be independent of the Polish government and the Polish parliament. According to the spokesman, it is still unclear when the ECJ will give a judgment on the matter. However, the court in Amsterdam has asked that this question be considered urgent. This could mean that there will be a decision in just a few months. Specifically, the court wants to know whether an arrest warrant cannot be carried out if it has been established that there is a real risk of an unfair trial due to the lack of independence of the Polish judiciary. So far, it has been the case that it had to be checked in individual cases whether deficiencies could affect the specific procedures of the person concerned. The ECJ had already ruled in July 2018 that the controversial judicial reform could mean that authorities in other EU countries will not be able to execute European arrest warrants from Poland in the future. However, hurdles were also set up. According to this judgment, in order to be able to refuse the execution of the arrest warrant, the authorities must first have clarified whether there is a threat to the fundamental right to a fair trial because of systematic or general deficiencies in the judicial system. Afterwards, however, it also is necessary to check whether any deficiencies found could have an impact on the person's procedure in the specific case. To do this, for example, it is necessary to examine whether the shortcomings in the judicial system also applies to those courts that would deal with the case. The background to the judgment at that time was the case of a Pole arrested in Ireland who resisted extradition to the Polish authorities. The man, persecuted for drug trafficking, argued that the reform of the Polish judicial system posed a real risk that he would not receive a fair trial in Poland. Among other things, he relied on the position of the EU Commission, which is of the opinion that the reforms endanger the separation of powers and limit the independence of the courts. In November last year, ECJ judges finally found that it is indeed the case when they declared the compulsory retirement of judges in Poland to be contrary to the union law. The specific Dutch case concerns a Pole who is said to have smuggled around 200 kilograms of both hard and soft drugs from the Netherlands to his home country. The district court in Poznan had already issued an arrest warrant for the man in 2015. In February of this year, the Karlsruhe Higher Regional Court in Germany also overturned the arrest warrant for a suspect from Poland because it had doubts about the fair trial in his home country. The court said at the time that a final decision on the admissibility of the desired extradition will only be made after the Polish authorities have had the opportunity to answer the Senate's request. And if you now want to know more about European politics from a German point of view, YouTube has chosen another of my videos right here for you on the end screen, right next to your chance to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in my next video. Click and enjoy. Viel Spaß!